It's 2 p.m. and this is Observer TV News. I'm Raquelle Wright. It's 12 degrees and cloudy outside our East York studios. Here's what's making headlines today. Trudeau meets with the Cuban president in Havana, The Cosby Show returns, and police are investigating anti-Semitic graffiti on the walls of a school in Etobicoke. Now to our top story. You may have noticed photographers and stargazers staring up for the past few days. The skies have been extra bright with the return of the supermoon. It happens when the full moon coincides with the moon's closest approach in its orbit around the Earth. This is the moon's brightest and largest appearance since 1948. According to a statement from NASA, the moon will not be as big or bright until 2034. In national news, Prime Minister Trudeau traveled to Cuba yesterday evening. Honor guards and officials welcomed him in the capital of Havana. Trudeau is in the Cuba to open trade opportunities for Canadian companies once the Cuban restrictions of foreign investment are loosened. Cuban President Raul Castro told Trudeau that reforms in Cuba would come slowly but steadily. Also, a new study by the Canadian Centre on Substance Abuse says that the rate of opioid overdoses required hospitalization is on the rise in nearly every province. The report found that the number of people hospitalized per day due to opioid overdose has increased by 30% since 2008. Saskatchewan had the highest rate of opioid-related hospitalization. We'll be right back with Jasmine Hoy and local crime.
We are artists, writers, and storytellers. We are communicators, innovators, and collaborators. We are leaders, creators, and achievers. With one thing in common, a passion for storytelling. Bring life to learning at Centennial College.
The truck driver accused of causing a deadly crash on Highway 400 is expected to appear in court today. 35-year-old Sergeant Singh Matharu from Winnipeg was charged with 4 counts of criminal negligence causing death and 1 count of criminal negligence causing bodily harm. 5-year-old Isabella Cucci, her mother, 35-year-old Valbona Vokshi, and her 55-year-old grandmother Zemil Vokshi were killed in the collision on the highway in June. 27-year-old Maria Lipska was also killed. Matharu appeared in court on September 15th and was granted bail under the conditions that he refrains from traveling outside of Manitoba and Ontario. He is also forbidden to operate any motor vehicle. 6 people were taken into custody after shots were fired in Moss Park neighborhood. Police say gunshots were heard around 12:30 a.m. in the area of Shooter and Sherbourne streets. Officers say a gun had been thrown out of the window of an apartment in the area. No injuries have been reported. Charges have not been laid against the 6 at this time. Toronto police are investigating graffiti painted on the walls of David Hornell Jr. School in Etobicoke. The words, "It's the Jews," were written in blue and red paint 3 times around the school. The school's principal said a caretaker discovered the graffiti early Tuesday morning. A team from the Toronto District School Board washed off the paint this morning. Constable Carolyn DeCloet says detectives in the 22nd Division are investigating this incident. Entertainment and sports when we return. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to the Journal.
We are artists, writers, and storytellers. We are communicators, innovators, and collaborators. We are leaders, creators, and achievers. With one thing in common, a passion for storytelling. Bring life to learning at Centennial College.
The hit 80s sitcom The Cosby Show will be returning to television despite the sexual assault allegations surrounding its star, Bill Cosby. The Atlanta-based TV station says it takes the allegations seriously, but they find the public sees a distinction between Bill Cosby, the TV personality, and Bill Cosby, the man. Cosby has pled not guilty to the assault charges. His case is expected to go to trial in June. And Canadian DJ EDM artist deadmau5 will be launching a series of online music classes.
This class is designed for you to develop your own style and developing your own sound.
If you can impact one person with your music, then it is pretty much worth it.
Sometimes it happens in 5 years, sometimes it happens in 10 years, sometimes it doesn't happen at all. But it's definitely 100% not going to happen if you don't go out there and try it for yourself.
Joel Zimmerman, the man behind the mask, is expected to host 20 lessons. The lesson will cost $90. The project organizers at Masterclass say he will give instruction on music mixing. They have also brought Christina Aguilera on board to share the secrets of singing. That's it for news. Up next, Kirk and Daniel with sports.
Hello and welcome to the Journal.
We are artists, writers, and storytellers. We are communicators, innovators, and collaborators. We are leaders, creators, and achievers. With one thing in common, a passion for storytelling. Bring life to learning at Centennial College.
Hello and welcome to After the Game. I'm Daniel McKenzie.
And I'm Kirk Budden. Today we take a look at the Leafs, check in on the hot start of DeMar DeRozan and some football action. First, here's Daniel with the Jays.
Thanks, Kirk. The Toronto Blue Jays didn't waste any time finding their new designated hitter, signing Kendrys Morales to a reported 3-year deal worth $33 million. The switch-hitting Morales hit 30 home runs with 93 RBIs last season in Kansas City. He also helped the Royals knock off the Blue Jays in the 2015 ALCS en route to their World Series title. Toronto's signing spree didn't end there. They also inked 23-year-old Cuban prospect Lourdes Gurriel to a 7-year deal worth $22 million, but he isn't expected to make a big impact this season. The Morales signing makes it unlikely that longtime Jays slugger Edwin Encarnacion will return next season. It was reported the team made a big push to sign their former DH and first baseman once the season ended, but were unsuccessful. Both Encarnacion and Jose Bautista rejected the Jays' qualifying offers earlier this week, and talks between the team and Bautista seem especially quiet. Let's bring in our Blue Jays analyst, Austin Owens, for his take on things. Hi, Austin.
Daniel.
So what do you think about the Morales signing?
I like the Kendrys Morales signing. I think he adds a lot of pop to the Jays lineup if the Jays end up losing Encarnacion and Bautista. He had 2 good years in Kansas City, 30 home runs last year. And he's a switch hitter, so I think he'll add a lot of versatility to a lineup that's righty heavy.
Right on. So let's say Bautista and Encarnacion are not back, because it doesn't look like they're going to be. Who else can the Jays look at for free agents?
It seems as though they have 2 main areas of improvement that they need to make. It's in the outfield and first base. I'd say more outfield they need to look at. They lost Michael Saunders, they lost Bautista, it looks like. And some names floating around are Dexter Fowler, Josh Reddick are 2 guys that they might look at. Reddick seems like the more promising option, I would say.
And there's a connection there with Josh Donaldson.
They had the last time they played together was in Oakland. They had a really good season in 2013 with the Athletics and 2014 as well. So I think there's a possible link there and a deal to be made. At first base, if they don't go with the outfield, Steve Pearce has been a name that I think they could go to. It's been reported that he might be in a platoon role with Justin Smoke, seeing that they could be a good dynamic duo.
So let's say they strike out on the free agent market. Is there anybody maybe through trade that they could pick up?
There's 2 main names that have come up. Joey Votto has been the big name that everyone's focused on, and Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce seems like the more interesting option, or the more realistic option.
Right.
He was linked in a trade to Michael Saunders that was pretty much done up until last season before a physical negated that trade. He seems like somebody that could come over and play with Melvin Upton. Joey Votto, rather, I don't think he's going to be in the mix. I think the Jays are pretty short on prospects. They don't have a lot to give up after the big 2015 spending spree.
Right.
So I don't think he's in the cards for the Jays.
No, that seems like a long shot. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So now we'll go to Kirk with some football news.
It was a crazy weekend in college football as 5 of the top 10 teams lost on Saturday. Most notably, number 2, Clemson lost to Pitt, number 3, Michigan losing to Iowa, and number 4, Washington upset by USC. That leaves Alabama at number 1 as the only undefeated team left in the top 25. Here's a look at how the CFB playoff rankings shake out going into the final 2 weeks. Clemson and Michigan stay at the top 4. They're in contention for a playoff spot. Ohio State jumps to number 2, as well as Washington falls down to 6. Should be a wild finish to the season with Michigan and Ohio State rivalry at full throttle, and they play each other to close out the season. And sticking with football, we go over to NFL. We're just over halfway through the season. NFL is as unpredictable as ever. Other than the Browns doing Browns things, being 0-10, Tennessee spanked Green Bay on Sunday. No one expected them to get Jordy Nelson back from injury and then be a sub-500 team. The young gunslinging Dallas Cowboys won again, improving to 8-1. Their impressive record comes on the shoulders of rookie running back Ezekiel Elliott, with some help from fellow rookie QB Dak Prescott. Game to look forward this week is the LA Rams taking on the Dolphins. That's not a mistake because the number 1 overall pick, quarterback Jared Goff, makes his debut in the NFL. Now into some hockey with Daniel.
The Toronto Maple Leafs continued their Jekyll and Hyde impersonation last night with an impressive 6-2 win over the visiting Nashville Predators. With so many young players on the roster, it isn't a shock that the Leafs have been so up and down to start the season. But over their past 5 games, the team has been especially erratic. They beat Vancouver 6-3, lost 7-0 to Los Angeles, beat Philly 6-3, and lost 4-1 to Pittsburgh before last night's 6-2 win. They aren't boring to watch, that's for sure. And while rookies William Nylander and Mitch Marner both added to their goal totals last night, Austin Matthews got shut out again. The first overall pick scored 6 goals over his first 6 games with the Leafs, and not surprisingly, the league took notice. Toronto played their 16th game of the season last night, and how many goals does Matthews have now? Well, still 6. Leafs coach Mike Babcock said the other day that he believes Matthews can be a dominant center in the NHL by Christmas. What do you think about the timing of that comment from Babcock?
It's a little unusual. You have a 19-year-old kid that you're expecting to be your number 1 center, and you're saying it's going to happen by Christmas. That's a little crazy.
A little bit. Maybe too much pressure to put on him at this point?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. And we're going to stay in Toronto as we go look at some Raptors. DeMar DeRozan continues his dominant play to start the season as the Raptors rolled through the weekend, beating the Knicks and the Hornets. DeRozan put up over 30 in both outings and remains the top of the league, averaging 33.2 points per game. Last night, the Raptors went into Cleveland for an Eastern Conference Final rematch and face a similar fate, losing a tight game, 121-117. Let's bring in our Raptors analyst, John Morta, for his thoughts on the DeRozan and the boys. So, John, what do you think the Raps have to do to beat Cleveland? Because ultimately, they have to go through Ohio to get to the finals.
Well, really, I don't think they're doing anything wrong. Last night, they only lost by 4, and the game before, they only lost by 3, which is a total of 7 points that they've lost to Cleveland so far in 2 games this season. So, what they really have to do is just tighten up on defense, especially on the 3-point line. Channing Frye's continuing what he did last year to us, which is just torching us on the 3 points. So just make our shots, play our defense, and play our game. It was a tough pill to swallow yesterday, seeing the loss, but we're doing a lot of things right.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on the early part of the season? And is there any glaring problems you see, anything that needs to be fixed going forward?
Not any glaring problems, but just a concern. Maybe Pascal Siakam at the 4. He's a rookie. He was injured in the preseason, so you might look at him and think the injury's coming back, or if you might think, is he going to stay consistent? So it's just one of those. If he stays consistent until January, until Jared Sullinger, a proven forward, could come back, then we should be in good hands.
Absolutely. Now, this is probably going to be the toughest back-to-back matchup on any schedule in the NBA tonight. The Raps host Golden State after playing Cleveland. How are you looking for the Raps to bounce back?
Again, yesterday it was a pretty tough game. We had the game locked down until Kyrie came in. So they're going to use that as motivation to come in. DeMar Carroll also sat out the past 2 games, so he should come in. He has a big challenge in Durant. We brought DeMar Carroll in for some defense, so we're going to look for some of that today. Plus, it's Drake night. Want to play good in front of your global ambassador. So.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, John. Now let's get to our best bets for the week. Daniel, what do you got?
All right, I'm going to go back to the NHL for my picks this week. I'm taking Pittsburgh over Washington. The Caps lost a tough one last night in overtime, and the Pens really pushed the pace, and they should be able to take advantage of that back-to-back. Then I'm going to take Calgary at home over Arizona, even though Johnny Gaudreau looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks with a broken finger, so we'll see how that plays out. And then I'm going to take the visiting Florida Panthers to beat the Leafs tomorrow night, as the Jekyll and Hyde show is going to continue in Toronto. How about you?
I can see it. I'm going to go to the Thursday nighter. There's the Saints are going into Carolina to play the Panthers. It's a divisional game. Proline has the money line at 3.0 for a tie. I like that a lot. Divisional games, it looks to be a close game. Over-under, set at 52 right now. I don't think either defense can stop a touchdown, and they both have massive offenses, so like them to be over 52. And the spread's at -3 Carolina. Saints lost an absolute terrible one against the Broncos on Sunday. I see them coming back and getting the win, staying within that spread.
Right on.
If you can stick to those picks, don't go betting your house on it and calling us tomorrow and complaining about it.
Nope, because we won't answer. That's it for today's show. For everybody here at After the Game, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.